After an accident, I found myself in the hospital. You're alive? Great then, my husband said, and flew off to Bali with our son. I just smiled and made one call. Upon his return, he realized his mistake. And before we continue, please tell us from which country you are watching this video. Enjoy listening. Alisa was awakened by a sharp metallic scraping, followed by a deafening impact. It all happened so fast that she didn't even have time to be scared. Pain shot through her entire body. It felt like shards of glass were embedding themselves in every cell. Alisa regained consciousness in a hospital room. White walls, the smell of medicine, an IV drip, monotonously ticking away the seconds. She tried to move, but a sharp pain in her leg forced her to freeze. Memories of the accident rushed back like a wave. A slippery road, an oncoming car, the blinding glare of headlights. Alisa spent several days in a semi-conscious state, battling the pain and the aftermath of the crash. The doctors said she was lucky, a broken leg, a concussion, numerous bruises, but most importantly, she was alive. Slowly but surely, she began to recover. Kirill, her husband, came to visit her on the third day. Alisa had been waiting for him, hoping for support, for sympathy. She longed to hear words of comfort, to feel his warmth, but instead she saw only an indifferent face and heard an icy tone. Alive? Great then, Kirill tossed out, not even glancing at her. I don't have time to sit around here. Nikita is waiting. We have tickets for Bali. Alisa was stunned. Bali? Now? When she was lying in the hospital, broken and helpless. Bali? Kirill, are you serious? What about me? She whispered, feeling a lump form in her throat. You're the one who said you'd long dreamt of a vacation, Kirill shrugged. So, go ahead and relax, and Nikita and I will warm ourselves in the sun. We can't let those tickets go to waste. Don't worry. You'll be fine. The doctors said you'd recover. He spoke as if she weren't his wife, but a chance acquaintance, as if her pain and suffering meant nothing to him. And the treatment? Who will help me? Alisa asked, feeling a wave of anger rise within her. You'll figure it out, Kirill cut her off. You're strong and independent, remember? You always handled everything yourself. Well, handle this. With that, he left, leaving Alisa alone in the room with her pain and disappointment. She stared at the ceiling, tears streaming down her cheeks. She couldn't believe this was happening to her. She couldn't believe that the man she loved had betrayed her so cruelly. She recalled all the years she had dedicated to her business, all the sacrifices she had made for her family. She had always tried to be a good wife and mother, but apparently it wasn't enough. Kirill had always been dissatisfied, always envious of her success. He wanted her to be weak and dependent so he could control her. Alisa reached for her phone and found the number of Maria, her longtime friend and lawyer. Masha, hi, it's Alisa. A worried but sympathetic voice came through the receiver. Alisa, oh my God, I just heard. How are you? What happened? I'm all right, as much as I can be. I'm alive, but I need your help. Alisa tried to speak evenly, so as not to betray the tremor in her voice. Tell me what happened. I'm listening. Alisa exhaled and told Maria everything about the accident, Kirill's indifference, his trip to Bali with their son, and most importantly, her sudden realization that her marriage was a sham, built on her finances and his selfishness. Maria was silent for a moment, processing what she had heard. Then her voice became firm and businesslike. Okay, Alisa. First, you need to focus on yourself and your health. Second, we will dissolve this marriage as soon as possible. Division of property. Custody of Nikita. We will handle all of that. You are not alone. Alisa felt a lump rise in her throat but managed to control herself. Maria's support was invaluable right now. Thank you, Masha. I know where to start. We'll start with the divorce. I'll prepare all the documents. I need all of Kirill's information, the marriage certificate, Nikita's birth certificate. The sooner we file, the better. All right, I have all of that. I can send you scans. Excellent. Now, about the finances. Tell me about your assets. What is registered under whose name? Alisa explained in detail to Maria about the business, the accounts, the real estate, and the fact that most of the assets were registered under her name, as she was the primary source of income for the family. "Good," Maria said. "That's in our favor, but we need to act quickly. I recommend you transfer all assets you can control to separate accounts inaccessible to Kirill. Freeze all joint accounts so he can't withdraw money." "Is that what I suspected?" Alisa replied. "I'll do it today." "Excellent. And one more thing. I recall your country house is registered under your mother, Anna Sergeyevna. Is that correct?" "Yes, that's right. Mom initially bought it for herself, but later allowed us to live there." "That's very good. We need to speak with Anna Sergeyevna. If she agrees, we can put the house up for sale. This will deprive Kirill not only of housing, but also of some of his self-confidence." Alisa pondered. Selling the house was a serious step. It meant the complete and final destruction of their life together, but remembering Kirill's cold gaze in the hospital, she knew there was no other way. "I'll talk to Mom. I think she'll support me." "That's great. The sooner we start, the sooner you can begin a new life. I'll keep you updated on all the news. Call me anytime if you need anything." "Thank you, Masha. You're my guardian angel." Hanging up, Alisa felt a surge of strength. She had a plan, she had support, and she had determination. She opened her laptop, which Kirill had brought at her request, and began transferring assets to new accounts. It was meticulous and nerve-wracking work, but she knew that every ruble transferred was another step towards her independence. After finishing the transfers, she dialed her mother's number. Anna Sergeyevna answered immediately. "Alisa, my dear, how are you? I'm so worried about you." Alisa felt the warmth of her mother's love, even through the phone. "Mom, I'm as well as can be. I need your help." She told her mother about her decision to divorce Kirill, his betrayal, and Maria's plan to sell the house. Anna Sergeyevna listened silently, only sighing occasionally. "My dear, I always knew that Kirill wasn't the right man for you. That he was always too superficial, but I never interfered. I hoped you were happy." "Mom, I also turned a blind eye to many things for a long time, but now everything has changed. I want to be free. I want to live for myself and for Nikita." "I understand, my dear, and I support you. Do what you think is best. As for the house, of course I agree to sell it." Alisa felt a sense of relief. Her mother's support meant a great deal to her. "Thank you, Mom. I know I can count on you." "Always, my dear, always. I'll come to see you tomorrow. We need to talk everything over in person." "Okay, Mom. I'll be waiting." Hanging up, Alisa closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Everything was falling into place as she had planned. The divorce, the division of property, the sale of the house. It was all just a matter of time. That evening, Alisa received a message from Maria. "The divorce papers are ready. A courier will bring them to you for signing tomorrow morning. Hang in there, my friend. We'll do this." Alisa smiled and leaned back against the pillow. Tomorrow would be the start of a new chapter in her life. 2 weeks later, Kirill and Nikita returned from their vacation, tanned and content. Bali, with its sun and ocean, had temporarily made them forget their troubles. Although Kirill still had to constantly think about money, he hoped that upon his return, Alisa would reconsider, forgive his little vacation, and everything would go back to normal. Nikita, on the other hand, was simply enjoying his holiday, unaware of the storm that had erupted in his parents' lives. At the airport, Kirill's first move was to reach for his card to pay for a taxi. With a confident motion, he entered the card details into the app, but the screen displayed "Transaction declined." He frowned, assuming there had been some mistake, tried again with the same result, then attempted to pay with another card, but that one was also blocked. "What the hell?" Kirill muttered. He glanced at Nikita, who was watching his manipulations with curiosity. "It's nothing. We'll sort it out now." Kirill tried to reassure his son, though he himself was far from calm. He had to ask a stranger to pay for the taxi in cash, promising to transfer the money later. Kirill felt humiliated and angry. Approaching the house, Kirill breathed a sigh of relief. Here it was, home, where everything should be as it was before. But another unpleasant surprise awaited him. The gate was locked, and a new padlock hung on the wicket gate. Work was bustling inside the house. Workers were carrying out furniture, repainting things. "What's going on here?" Kirill's voice was filled with bewilderment and anger. He tried to open the wicket gate, but the lock wouldn't budge. He then began to bang on the gate, demanding to be let in. After some time, a stranger in a smart suit came out. "Who are you?" Kirill asked, not hiding his irritation. "I am Elisa's lawyer," the man replied. "I have some documents for you." He handed Kirill a thick envelope. Kirill took the envelope with disbelief and opened it. Inside were papers for divorce and eviction notices. He felt the ground disappear from beneath his feet. "Divorce? Eviction? What does this mean?" "This must be some mistake," Kirill shouted. "I am Elisa's husband. I live here." "Unfortunately," the lawyer replied calmly, "your marriage is being dissolved, and the house, as you know, belongs to Anna Sergeyevna, Elisa's mother. She has decided to sell it. You must vacate the premises within 3 days." Kirill was furious. He tried to enter the property, but the lawyer blocked his path. "You have no right to be here," Kirill declared. "This is my home." "You have no legal grounds to reside in this house," the lawyer countered. "If you refuse to comply, we will be forced to call the police." Kirill realized that arguing was futile. Legally, he had no claim to this property. It was all registered to Elisa's mother, and she had every right to dispose of her property as she saw fit. He sat down on a bench near the gate, feeling crushed and humiliated. Nikita stood beside him, looking fearfully at his father. He didn't understand what was happening, but he sensed that something terrible had occurred. "Dad, what happened?" Nikita asked quietly. Kirill hugged his son, trying to hold back tears. "Everything is fine, Nikita," he mumbled. "We'll figure something out." But deep down, he knew the situation was far worse than he wanted to admit to his son. He took out his phone and tried to call Elisa, but she didn't answer. He then called his mother, hoping for her support. But she couldn't help him either. She didn't have extra money, and she was barely making ends meet herself. Kirill felt utterly alone and helpless. He realized he had made a huge mistake, underestimating Elisa and her determination. He thought she would always support him, that she couldn't live without him, but he was terribly mistaken. The Elisa was stronger than he had thought. He looked at Nikita, who was still waiting for an explanation. He couldn't tell his son the truth. He couldn't admit that he found himself in this situation due to his own foolishness and greed. "Come on, Nikita," Kirill said. "We'll go to Grandma's. She'll help us." They took a taxi and drove to his mother's. Kirill remained silent for the entire journey, lost in his thoughts. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he understood that his life would never be the same. Arriving at his mother's, Kirill explained what had happened. She was shocked, but tried to comfort her son. "Don't worry, Kiryusha," she said. "We'll manage somehow. The most important thing is that you are alive and well." They spent the night at Kirill's mother's. The apartment was small and cramped, not at all like what Nikita was used to. He whined and asked to go home, but Kirill tried to calm him. The next morning, Kirill decided to try talking to Elisa again. He went with Nikita to the hospital, where she was undergoing rehabilitation after the accident. They waited for her at the entrance, hoping to see her. After some time, Elisa emerged from the hospital, accompanied by Maria. She looked tired, but her eyes burned with a fire. Kirill rushed towards her. "Elisa, please listen to me," he pleaded. "I know I was wrong, but give me a chance to fix everything." Elisa stopped and looked at him with contempt. "Fix it?" she scoffed. "You think everything can be fixed? You betrayed me, Kirill. You abandoned me in the hospital when I needed your support the most. You went to Bali and didn't even inquire about my health. How do you expect me to forgive that?" "I was wrong. I know," Kirill continued to beg. "But I love you, Elisa. I can't live without you." "Don't make me laugh, Kirill," Elisa replied. "You only love my money. You've always been a parasite, living off me. But that's over now. I won't let you use me anymore." "But what about Nikita?" Kirill asked. "He's our son. He needs a father." "Nikita will decide for himself who he wants to live with," Elisa replied. "I won't impose anything on him." Kirill looked at his son. He searched his eyes for support, sympathy, understanding, but found only a shadow of disappointment. "Nikita, son, listen." He tried to speak to him. "Mom is angry now. She doesn't understand. We have to be together. We're men." Nikita looked at his father reproachfully. Dad, I've been thinking," he said quietly but firmly. "I saw how you treated Mom when she was unwell. You only thought about yourself." "Nikita, don't say that." He tried to defend himself. I just got confused. I love both of you." "If you loved us, you wouldn't have acted like that," Nikita replied. His voice sounded bitter. "I'm staying with Mom." Alisa looked at her son with gratitude. She knew it had been a difficult decision for him. "Let's go, Nikita," she said. "It's time." She turned her back to Kirill and headed towards the car Maria had called. Nikita followed her without looking back. Kirill stood as if struck by lightning. "Is this the end?" His thoughts raced. He couldn't believe it had all turned out this way. He tried to remember when everything had gone wrong, when he had stopped valuing Alisa, when he had started taking her for granted. He understood that he was solely to blame for everything that had happened, but admitting his guilt was too difficult. He decided he had to prove to Alisa and Nikita that he could be different, that he could change. But how? Where to start? He didn't know. He felt utterly helpless and lost. Alisa got into the car and closed her eyes. "Thank you, Masha," she said. "You helped me so much." "You're welcome, Alisa," Maria replied, smiling at her. "I'll always be there for you. You know you can count on me." Alisa looked at Nikita, who sat beside her, silently looking out the window. She knew it was difficult for him right now. He loved his father, and it pained him to see their family falling apart. "Nikita, everything will be all right," she said, putting her arm around his shoulders. "We'll get through it together." Nikita snuggled closer to her and quietly began to cry. Alisa held him tighter and kissed his head. She knew that love and support were what he needed most right now. The car pulled away, heading away from the hospital, taking Alisa and Nikita towards a new life, free from pain and betrayal. Kirill remained sitting on the bench, watching them go. He decided he would fight for his family, for his love, for his future. He would prove to Alisa and Nikita that he deserved their forgiveness. But first, he had to change himself. He had to become a different person. The house sold quickly, just as Maria had predicted. Anna Sergeyevna took care of all the arrangements, sparing Alisa further worry. And the proceeds from the sale allowed Alisa to start the new life she had long dreamed of. Kirill, as expected, fiercely resisted, attempting to contest the sale, but he was legally powerless. The house belonged to Anna Sergeyevna, and she had every right to dispose of it as she saw fit. Alisa bought a large and cozy apartment in a quiet neighborhood. She craved simplicity and comfort, things that had been so lacking in their previous home. The apartment was bright and spacious, with large windows overlooking a green courtyard. She furnished it with taste, opting for light colors and minimalist design. She wanted to create a place where she and Nikita would feel calm and comfortable. Kirill, finding himself on the street, was forced to look for new housing. He moved in with his mother, who, despite her grumbling, couldn't leave her son without a roof over his head. Living in a small apartment with his mother, after their luxurious home and a carefree life funded by Alisa, seemed like a nightmare to him. After the accident, she had to step away from business for a while, but now she was full of energy and determination. She returned to work with new ideas and plans. One evening, as Alisa and Nikita were having dinner in their new apartment, Nikita asked, "Mom, will Dad not come to see us anymore?" Alisa sighed and looked at her son. She knew this question would arise sooner or later. "Nikki, Dad made his choice. But why? Doesn't he love us?" "He does, of course, but sometimes people make mistakes, and Dad made a mistake." "And can he fix it?" Alisa pondered. She didn't know if Kirill could change, but she knew she didn't want to go back to the past. "I don't know, Nikita, but even if he changes, I don't think we can be together. Too much has happened." Nikita nodded and lowered his head. He was upset, but he understood that Mom was right. Alisa went to her son and hugged him. "Everything will be all right, Nikita. We have each other, and that's the most important thing. Several months passed. One evening, as Elisa was returning home from work, she saw Kirill. He was standing by the entrance to her building, waiting for her. Elisa stopped the car and got out. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. "I wanted to talk to you," he said. "We have nothing to talk about. Please, Elisa, give me a chance. I know I was wrong. I understand everything now, and I want to fix everything." Elisa looked at Kirill. She saw remorse in his eyes, but she felt nothing but weariness and disappointment. "It's too late, Kirill. You destroyed everything yourself. I'm starting a new life, and there's no place for you in it." Elisa turned and walked towards the entrance. "Elisa!" Kirill shouted after her. "Please!" Elisa didn't turn back. She entered the building and went up to her apartment. She opened the door and saw Nikita. He was sitting on the sofa, reading a book. "Mom, you're home?" he asked, smiling. "Yes, dear. I'm home." Elisa hugged her son. She felt all her tiredness and disappointment vanish. She had Nikita, and that was the most important thing. She looked out the window. Kirill was still standing by the entrance. He was looking at her windows with hope. Elisa closed the curtains. She didn't want to see him. She wanted to forget the past and live in the present. Betrayal had become the beginning of a new, happy life for her. A life free from selfishness and betrayal. A life where she was her own mistress.